All right, welcome back. Our last video we talked about opportunity costs. One thing I told you, remember opportunity cost, opportunity cost, opportunity cost. We talked about the difference between wants and needs. I briefly touched on resources, which we're going to talk about not in this video, but in the video after this. We're going to talk about different types of resources. Um, we talked about the difference between tangible wants and intangible wants. Tangible wants are things we could touch, like a car, a movie, a book, a house. Intangible wants are things like being successful, being proud, love, etc. Now, everything we do has an opportunity cost. For instance, me recording this video right now, um, one of the opportunity costs is that I'm not cutting my lawn, which desperately needs to be cut. It looks like nobody lives here and my house is abandoned. Um, But if I have steak for dinner tonight, then it means I'm giving up the opportunity to have chicken. So that's my opportunity cost. It's one of my opportunity costs is chicken. Another opportunity cost is I'm giving up having pasta or whatever else. So an opportunity cost is the alternative to the that I'm giving up to make for the choice that I've made. So, for instance, if I choose not to have a job, what are things that I would have to give up? I would have to get along without having much money. If I sleep in and I miss 2 classes, then I get sleep, and as where I get sleep, I have to give up my grade in that class. So I get a lower grade in that class. If I go to a basketball game on a Friday night, I give up going to the movies, or going to bed early, or working out. So does opportunity cost always have a price tag? It doesn't. What I mean by that is that when you look at opportunity cost, it doesn't always involve money. It can involve anything. So now everything costs money. Money is, and this is a very brief introduction to money. We have a whole unit on money later on. But what money is, it's a rationing device. Money is what we use to decide who gets what. If there's only 15 Maseratis in the world, well, the people who are willing to pay the most for them are going to get them. So people with money are going to get them. It's how we decide who gets the most scarce item in the world. That's why diamonds are so expensive. There's only so many. Not everybody in the world can have a diamond. So rationing device is the way we decide who gets what. And money is, in economics, in a capitalist system, money is how we decide who gets what. For instance, we have a finite number, we only have a certain number of parking passes. We charge $2.50 a pass. Whoever is willing to pay that $2.50 can have a parking pass. Another example of a rationing device is voting in a democracy. And so the homecoming king or queen, they the rationing device used in that situation are class votes. Rationing devices are important. Remember rationing devices and remember that it has to do with money. Um, we'll talk about it more a few units from now. All right, an economic way of thinking. When we talk about um, thinking in economic terms, what we're talking about is a cost-benefit analysis. The costs are bad things. It's like pros and cons. Okay, so costs are things that are bad. Benefits are things that are good. So costs are like cons, benefits are like pros. And so, just for example, up here, what are the costs and benefits to smoking society? Well, the costs or the cons are on the left-hand side, and the benefits or the pros are on the right-hand side. Benefits are people pay more taxes because they have an excise tax, it's a type of tax, on cigarettes, and so you get more tax income. You save money on pensions and Social Security because people die sooner, and you save money on nursing homes because people die sooner. Okay. The costs are you have loss of tax earnings because people who smoke don't earn as much money generally. You have secondhand smoke, which cause health problems to other people. You have group life insurance, medical cares, etc., fire, sick leave. And so what this does is, before you make a decision, you look at the benefits and the costs of making that decision. So cost-benefit analysis. We always have to consider the costs and the benefits of a decision. You can't just react emotionally to it. You can't be like, hey, I really, really want that car. I'm going to go buy it. I mean, you could, but that's not an intelligent, well thought out way. Like, you're not going to get rich thinking that way. So the costs are negative aspects of the situation, or the cons. Benefits are the positive aspects of the situation, or the pros. And a decision is generally going to be thought to make sense economically if the benefits outweigh the costs. So if there are more benefits than costs, then they're gonna then it's going to be a good decision, a positive decision. So for example, if you decided to join a sport, you can fill this out on your own. What would be the costs and the benefits? Well, just off the top of my head, the cost would be some of your time, your energy, your effort. Um, those things would be hard. School would be a little bit harder because you wouldn't have as much time to study. You'd be under a little bit more pressure to get good grades because you need to be eligible. You need to pass at least 5 classes to be eligible. The benefits, though, is you'd have camaraderie from the sport. You make a bunch of friends. You become more athletic and become healthier. You become a more disciplined and dedicated student. And so you have to weigh all those things before you decide, before you make a decision. Now, do the benefits outweigh the costs? This leads to something called trade-off. Trade-offs are very similar to opportunity costs. A trade-off is when you get more of one thing, you get less of another. It's a trade-off. So if I'm making more money, all of a sudden I get more money, and all of a sudden I have less stress in my life. It's a trade-off. Another example is if you have more money to spend on clothes, then you're saving less for a car. You can only spend money once, right? Now, remember we're talking about making decisions. And when we talk about making decisions, you're going to be left with consequences. Every decision you make, every action you have has a consequence. Period. Sometimes they're good consequences, sometimes they're bad consequences. Sometimes they're the consequences you intended to have, and sometimes they're not the consequences that you intended to have. So you have an action, you do something, it creates an effect. That effect can either be intended or unintended. Now, for example, if you open a shoe store in the mall and Nike comes out with a new shoe, what might be the effects of raising the price $5 above other stores? Well, your intended effect is so that you would make more money. You're like, yeah, I'm going to make more money because I'm going to make $5 more per shoe. That's your intended effect. However, your unintended consequence is that you're going to have less people buying from your store because you're charging more money. So you might actually end up making less money because you have less total customers coming in. So everybody goes to other stores and you end up you don't make as much money as if you would have just kept your price the same. You make less money. I think we're going to stop right there for right now, and then when we come back in our next video, we'll talk about the global economy a little bit and give you an introduction to that.